G'day everybody, Jules here, talking to an old teammate and old friend, Brad Sheppard of the West Coast Eagles. How are you, buddy?
Going well, thanks. Yourself?
Going well, thanks, mate. Bro, obviously it doesn't matter what environment or what you do in your life, this crazy quarantine has affected us all in different ways, buddy. And obviously being a professional football player, what have you been doing in isolation? Obviously your job is to go out and chase the leather and win games of footy. That's all been obviously taken from you. It's been restricted. What have you been doing in your downtime?
Yeah, it's a weird time we're living at the moment. There's an initial shock to everybody and the extent and how rapid the virus was growing, and it shut down obviously the AFL season was put on hold. So and the restrictions with what we could do as players and couldn't do. We could only train with a partner. So managed to team up with another good Sharkies boy and Josh Kennedy. And for the last 6-7 weeks, 3 days a week, we train together. It's actually harder training with one other bloke than it is training with about 10 or 20 because you've got to do more running, you've got to do more of everything. So it's been challenging, but at the same time, it's sort of rewarding because you're doing the hard work. And I guess apart from that, learning how to surf. I thought, give me something to challenge myself with. I know everyone in the world surfs and loves surfing, and I couldn't quite grasp why. So I was like, I want to get out there and give it a crack. And loving it. I'm no expert at all. I sort of got to get used to plucking out seaweed from my teeth at the moment because I'm falling off every time I get up. But yeah, between those two things and sort of as well when in your downtime, sort of gives you a chance to reflect on yourself and your career and obviously, what's important to you and going forward. I think everything's been stripped back and you just goes to show you just need the simple things and the things that are important to you, your family and your friends to have a good life. I think if you strip it right back, it's sort of given me a clearer sort of picture with going forward, what I need and what's important.
So true. Perspective, mate, isn't it? It's amazing the perspective that people are getting. I reckon, Shep, it was 10 years ago. Was it 10 years ago you got drafted when you were at East Fremantle?
Yeah, drafted end of 2009. So, yep.
For all my mates watching, mate, what would you say when I was playing? And I know you didn't play a lot together. What was my best quality on the footy field, mate?
Well, I think your tenacity. I think your willingness to put your head over the footy and your vibrant energy around the club was something that definitely took note and tried to implement at the club as well, at West Coast.
You're too kind, mate. I appreciate it. I know my cousins will appreciate the bit of putting the head over the footy. Mate, thank you so much for being part of Happiness Aid. It's a real honour to have you here with us and sharing your knowledge and wisdom with so many people that need some good stories right now. So I appreciate what you've been doing in your downtime. But once, obviously, the restrictions are over and they are starting to ease a little bit, mate, as we can see every day, we seem to get a little closer to going back to some normality. What's the one thing that you are looking forward to doing when all the restrictions are lifted?
Oh, there's a few things. One thing, I think being able to connect with your mates more in a social environment. So whether it's at a restaurant or going down to the pub, even having one off the wood, don't do it as often these days in season, but just the little things, I guess, you took for granted. Definitely looking forward to when all that gets reopened to be able to, I can do the socialising aspect.
And you do love a good fish, but have you been able to get out on the boat and do some fishing in these times?
Yeah. So read up on all the rules and it was essential fishing. So managed to get out there a couple of times with another mate and any opportunity, whether it's good weather, because I had a bit of time on my hands, managed to get out on the water and go fishing, which was great. And just lucky that we're in WA, being so isolated and how everyone kept the distancing that we were able to get back to, I guess, saying normality. We were able to get back quicker because of everyone doing the right thing and being able to go out on the boat is something I love doing and managed to, last couple of weeks be able to do that.
So good. And I know you mentioned off the wood before, an expression for people that don't know what it means. It's like just having a cold beer or whatever you drink off off the bar? Because it's one of the things that you kind of take for granted, isn't it? It's like, I know you said you don't do a lot of it anymore because obviously your footy career, but there is definitely something about just going, chilling with your mates, talking about life and just having a coldie off the wood, isn't it?
There is. There's nothing better, and you could rock up with one mate, 20 mates. You know that there's always going to be something, some good story told. There's going to be some idea, conversation that it just seems to go together. So that's something that I'm really looking forward to. When I get the chance to go and tip one in, because there is, whilst playing elite sport, there is sort of the human element of playing elite level. Is still to be able to do what normal people do, which is, if it is going to the pub, having a beer, you can't sort of distance yourself too much and be just footy. You got to live a normal life. And if that's going out and having a beer, once a blue moon or whatever it is, then I encourage it, because I feel like that's the best way to not get caught up in the AFL bubble.
So true though, because it's a sense of normality, isn't it? It's like it's going to the bar or just hanging out with your mates is such an Aussie culture. And yeah, you are right. You can get caught up in that footy bubble and have, I guess, a warped sense of reality of the world.
Absolutely. Spot on there.
Mate, obviously you played for the West Coast Eagles, an incredible football side for many reasons, an incredible organisation. In your football career, and I'm sure you have many of them, from your early days right now into your professional career, if you could pinpoint for the people listening and watching, what would you say your best moment this far has been?
Oh, best moment. I've been lucky enough to play for, I think, my 11th year now. I've played in a lot of great wins with the footy club and shared a lot of good memories. But I think being able to run out my debut game in front of a home crowd, got my family there, my friends there. I think I was round 7 in 2010, going back a few years now. Back when I was looking at a little bit of a spring chicken, not so much now. I got a bit of growth on my face, but I think that moment there was something that I'll cherish forever. It's all the work up until that stage to get drafted. You don't just get drafted overnight. A lot of credit's got to go to the people around you. I think my family, my old man was coach for my cricket and footy junior days all the way through roughly to the age of 16, and got drafted when I was 18. So he had a lot to play with my junior career. I think it was just probably as a proud moment for myself, knowing that everyone there could experience sort of the start of my journey, which is gone for 11 years now. So yeah, that was probably something that is a standout.
I mean, pretty magical, wasn't it? It was like, was your, when you were a child, when growing up, was that something that you wanted to do? You know how some kids want to be a doctor, a footy player, an astronaut. Was yours always I wanted to be a footy player, or did it come later in life?
Came a bit later in life. Growing up with the Marshes as a cousin, so Jeff's my uncle, Michelle, his wife is my mum's sister. So grew up with the Marshes. Mitch being the best mate, highly competitive, and been around, I guess, elite sporting environments from a young age, and seeing just how it operates, watching Sean growing up, and got to tour when Jeff was coach of Zimbabwe, got to tour with the Zimbabwean cricket team around Australia and I'd be on tour with the boys, would train with them, would do everything with them. So I guess I got exposure from a young age, and in winter wanted to play footy. Always thought I was Wayne Carey, and then summertime, I just wanted to play cricket. So I don't think I just wanted to play footy. I think it was something that it just evolved, and the older I got, sort of, it was a bit clearer to me that I was better at footy than I was at cricket, and it just happened to be that things just worked out. Talking about the East Fremantle days, that's when Shane Woden was down there, and he invited me down for a pre-season, and that was, I guess, the decision at the time whether I pursued cricket or footy, and ended up having a pre-season and get to meet great blokes like yourself. And I guess the journey really started there, playing senior footy that year and getting drafted at the end of the year.
Mate, did you play 1 year of senior footy before you got drafted?
Yeah.
Oh, it's incredible. Yeah. I was lucky enough and fortunate enough to see you, to see obviously Kane. And I feel, was there one other player that got drafted that year?
Dave Swallow.
Yeah, Dave
Dave
Swallow.
Swallow went to the Gold Coast as a year before the exemption, the year before. So, yeah, so a few boys came through that year.
Yeah.
I got influenced by yourself and Bowie with the tipped hair and the little stud earring. So, yeah, I got shown the right way.
Remember, people always ask me about my time at East, but I remember Josh Kennedy used to come down, and he had just kind of come to the Eagles, and he was coming into training, and he was just such a different man. Like, it was all that kind of controversy about the Judd trade. He just came in, and then he just exploded. It was incredible to watch and see.
Yeah, it was. Well, for the first part of my career as well at West Coast, we didn't have a waffle line side, so I got to play. I think I played 46 games in total for East Fremantle over the course of the next 3 years when I couldn't get a senior game for West Coast. So I guess the relationships that I built down there and speaking to the guys that came from over east, it sort of gave them a chance to socialise with blokes outside of our own club and footy circle, because it does become a bit of a bubble. And they were great memories. We sort of went close to winning the flag. I think would have been my third or fourth year at the club at West Coast, I should say. And I know that we had a representation of, I think, 8 or 9 AFL players. I think it was about 5 or 6 Eagles players and 3 or 4 Fremantle players playing on that particular side. So I was talking about the camaraderie, and I guess it was good to break down, I guess, the barriers of your Fremantle players, because you line up against them on an AFL round, and the following week, if you get dropped or whatever reason, all of a sudden your teammates and you're trying to be best mates so you can get a kick.
So true. And mate, before I go into my next question about your footy career in terms of your worst moment, because we all have some good moments, mate, and some difficult moments in our life, and that's universal. Doesn't matter. I'm sure you can agree with this. Doesn't matter what you do in life. Challenges are universal. But did you want to go to the Eagles, or did you want to go to Dockers, or did you want to go to Eastern States, or were you just really big part of you want to stay here in Perth and WA with your family?
Yeah, I think being 18 at the time, just turned 18, I hadn't known any different. You know, I grew up in WA, got a big family, close family. I was leading up to the draft, I was a bit nervous and scared, thinking about that, you know, I might be drafted. There's probably a 90% chance of me getting drafted over east, because there's only 2 WA sides here. So I was, I guess, fearing for the worst at the time, because I hadn't known any difference, and I thought I'm going to miss all my best mates, 18th, 21st, all the things that are relevant at the time. But that was what was going through my head. I was like, I'm going to be away from my mum and dad, my sisters, my cousins, my best mates. So ideally, I would have loved to. I was like, just whatever happens, just please stay in a WA club. I don't care who it is, just one of them. But the more you've been in the system, you sort of realise just the support networks that the clubs go through now, and the welfare that it goes through, that if I had to go over east for that particular time, then, you know, I know that it would have been a great experience as well. So it's there's a lot of resources that the club put in to make sure that players these days, you know, get the right sort of diet, they got the right families, they get host families, and they welcome them with both arms, knowing that they can hopefully have a long career with the club.
Amazing, mate. And I think that sometimes people forget footy players are human, buddy. They have feelings, they have thoughts, they have stories, they have families. They go through the same challenges that everyone else faces, I guess. But people sometimes put footy players on a pedestal as role models, which kind of leads into my next question, mate. In your footy career this far, what has been your most difficult and challenging moment as an individual?
Yeah, I've sort of, it's sort of a long question, this one. I sort of get a little bit, not uncomfortable, but it sort of brings out emotion talking about. I think it was actually the end of 2017 and 18. My old man, he got diagnosed with lymphoma cancer, and that's when I was shifting house. So I decided to move home for 4 or 5 months, and seeing him battle with the chemo and how much it knocks you around, being a bloke that's worked his whole life to be sectioned to a corner of the house in the dark room. And then getting a perspective of how good being healthy is, to play the whole of 2018, and then he got healthy towards the back end of 2018, and then for me to go down with my hamstring in the first final knocked me again. And then I was a bit at that stage. I was a bit like, why me? I was blaming. I was like, how can this happen? And then leading up to the grand final, my sister lost her partner for 5 years, who I was good mates with, and that was the Monday morning of grand final week. So then I just talk about perspective. I was like, well, here's me complaining about putting a brave face on for everyone, but complaining about missing out on the grand final. And there's more to life than just footy, and there's bigger things in life, health, well-being, and just being around people close to your family. So leading up to the grand final, seeing the boys win it, that was one of the best moments, being in the stand, seeing your best mates win a flag, and how the circumstances she with a minute to go was unbelievable. But the post grand final, once it all settled down in the change rooms post game, it sort of, you got to be, I guess, vulnerable at times, and that was probably the time for me where I just let everything out. I was sad, knowing that the emotion of missing out on the grand final premiership, but then more so, you know, one of my good mates and my sister, what she was going through at that time and going forward, and it was a tough obstacle to get over. And I'm not saying, it's just the way that I sort of dealt with it was, I think the perspective and not taking things for granted. I think my attitude going into the club definitely changed. I used to be probably pre 2018. I used to be quite a serious bloke. I like to not joke around, try to get in the club, do the work, get out. And I was sort of, have those moments where, like, if I finish up footy now, what am I going to miss most? You know, is it playing games? Well, I feel like you can get competition anywhere. It's about the people around you and about enjoying the company, enjoying what you're doing. So the change of mindset to be, there's bigger things to life than just footy. Take the pressure off you. Enjoy the bad meetings. They're going to happen. There's going to be terrible meetings, but just enjoy everything that comes with being an AFL player. And I think the change of mindset, and for me, that was a way of getting over that sort of difficult time for probably a year there, which led into last year to probably playing my best season of footy, just because I was enjoying winning. If we lost, I was, glass half full sort of approach. Like, there's, it's right. We can bounce back. And I think just that change of mindset, and you can't do it without support around you, but that sort of, I guess, shaped me into who I am today. I think when things are bad, nothing's ever too bad. And when things are good, it's never too good. You just got to try and take things for what it is. And I guess with this virus which is going on now, it's been terrible. It's been terrible not being able to play, but there's bigger things in the world than us not playing footy. We get to do it for a job, and I'm privileged. I'm still essentially getting paid a percentage to keep fit. So I'm in the group, probably the 5% of the group, we're healthy, been able to train, get paid. So I can't complain too much. So probably blabbered on a bit, but that's just, that's what's
I think that would be so very challenging if you think about what you just said. Dealing with your dad's struggles and his own health. It's your dad, so it's obviously really challenging because your family. And then to lose a friend that's also a partner of your sister. Because I would imagine that you'd be feeling really heartbroken about your own experience with your injury. Then obviously really heartbroken about what happened with your mate and your sister's partner. But then winning a grand final, it would be like you're beyond such a high, but I feel there would be a sense of like nearly guilt as well. Like you're celebrating this incredible moment, but then a part of you really sad about what you probably lost as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it broke in the first quarter when we were 5 goals down. I think it was a bit of a blur that day. I sort of being 5 goals down. I felt the guilt for not being out there, helping my brothers, teammates out, and I was, yeah, just the emotion got to me. So I sort of spent the next probably 5-10 minutes up in the toilets just to understand that the time out was just such. I was almost running on. I don't know what I was running on. Just adrenaline, or I don't know what. I was just wasn't, I guess, myself, and it wasn't till game got underway that you sort of the relevance of. I think the week leading up, and then the game, and me not being there, sort of caught up to me, and then it didn't help when then to go and kick the first couple of goals and looked like he was going to kick 10 for the day. But it was sort of those moments where you I think everyone feels vulnerability, and everyone deals with it different ways. Biggest thing from the whole experience has been able to sort of speak to people and just talk about it. If you're sort of feeling down, knowing that you're allowed to feel down. Everyone has bad days. Just accept that it's a bad day and just be able to talk. And the more we talk, then I guess the better you feel. And then realise the reason why you weren't feeling that great is in essence is really nothing. So it sort of keeps you, I guess, talking about happiness, it keeps you happy, it keeps you moving forward, it keeps the momentum going.
So true. And I think that the perspective part is so true. Like, your experience with your injury and missing out on the grand final, and obviously your personal challenges with your family at that time. But as you said, perspective it can always be sometimes worse than what it is for yourself. And I think that is always a good reminder for everyone watching this right now that things in life can be difficult, but you can always find some sense of silver lining. In your particular case, as you said, you really focused on your enjoyment, your attitude, and you came back and arguably have your best year to date, which is pretty incredible, mate.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Cheers.
Which leads into my next question. And obviously, Happiness Co. and Happiness Aid and myself personally is massive in this space, and it's so important to me as an individual. But from your perspective, mental health, like, why is it so important to you personally, as a footy player, as a man, as a brother, as a son, as a person in the community? Why is it so important to you, and how do you look after your mental health?
It's always been a stigma. If you, I guess, this old slogan back in the day was "it's weak to speak." I think I heard that years ago. Where it's not. I think you got to be in tune with your emotions and understand that you go through highs and lows through whatever's happening in your life at that present time, and there might be no reason to feel low some days or feel that you're bouncing off the balls. But just, I think for myself, the mindfulness, knowing and being aware, I'm not feeling like I'm bouncing off the balls today. There's no reason. Say, for instance, you might have had a good game of footy and there's a lot of pressure building up. And then the following day you're tired. You're not feeling that great. Being aware, be like, that's just normal. I'm not the only bloke to be feeling like this. You just accept what it is, and I think the more you do that, and then if you keep feeling that way for a number of days, being able to have a support network around you, it's to have a chat to. It might just be simple as having a chat, because men don't like to open up. I think you like to be the macho, bravado. You like to be sort of the man, and if you see the I say your self-assessment, if you say that you're opening up, it seems like you're essentially weak, which is not the case. So I think the more that you can, I guess, find people you trust and have those conversations, if you're not feeling that great, it definitely helps your mentality and well-being. And being an elite sport, you've got to be thick-skinned, because it's a performance industry. It's everyone's entitled to opinion. The media is growing. The fan and connectedness of fans to players is growing. So you're going to be open to negativity, and I guess if it ever gets to that stage where it affects you, it's got to have people around you to be able to, I guess, have a chat to and understand it's just white noise.
So true, mate. And I think you're all right. Having people to share your struggles with and your vulnerable moments, as you've mentioned a few times about being vulnerable. I believe that the truest strength of a person, mate, is how vulnerable you can be, because it doesn't make you less than. It just makes you more real, more brave to be able to share these challenges in your life. You mentioned mindfulness. Obviously, it's a really amazing thing when you have a sense of mindfulness and some tactics to help. Is there one thing that you find yourself doing on a daily or weekly basis that kind of helps you get back to center? Is it meditation? Is it breathing? Is it running? Is there something you do for yourself that helps you with a sense of mindfulness?
Yeah, I like to. It's only probably been the last, probably since this isolation started. Really, because mindfulness at the club is a big program, but it's not compulsory. So I've given time to actually really give it a crack and work. And I think the breathing techniques in the morning, just being aware of your I guess your breath and being aware of your surroundings. And when you close your eyes, I know there's scientific. If I start going scientific and say something wrong, I'll get shot down. So I think being aware when your mind does drift off, being able to bring it back to where you are, which is a performance skill as well, because in games of footy, when you're tired, you do drift off, and you do. The mind does play wonders on you, but to be able to bring yourself back to what you're doing and being aware of that next moment is critical in elite sport. So if it might only be a 0.2%, it might be a 1% difference, but I think when you get to that elite level, it all counts and adds up.
Certainly does, and we do a lot in peak performance, mate. And I always say to people, it's about getting ready for that next moment, but you can only really be ready for that next moment if you're in the moment.
Yep.
And then we get caught up in stories and, in life, the everyday person gets distracted with all these different things in their life. And as you said, one of the best mindfulness techniques is to breathe and get back into the present moment to allow you to make the best decision next, which is kind of cool.
Yep, absolutely.
Buddy, so you're dealing with mental health. You obviously use mindfulness, which is really important to you. Obviously, being at an AFL football club and being a leader around the boys and around the club, but also and I know the word role model gets used loosely, but why is leadership important to you? And what kind of leader would you say you were? Like, are you that really out loud, outrageous leader? And have you been watching the Michael Jordan documentary at all?
Yeah, I've watched it. I've kept it. I've only watched the first couple of episodes, so don't ruin it for me. But I understand what type of leader he was.
Yeah, obviously he was a leader that just was pure performance, and his leadership on the field did all the talking for him, and just demanded that from other people, as you've seen in the episodes you've watched already. What kind of leadership style do you have, mate?
If any, probably more action based. I like to be. You like to practice what you preach. You want to say something and do something else. I think for my leadership, it's what you do on the field. You need that trust. So if you can play at a consistent elite level for a long period of time, that's leadership. And then off the field would be empowering players. So I like to not too much of dictatorship, not too much the Jordan way, which I think there's a role for that in every sporting club, every business. But to be able to build relationships and empower people is probably the more type of leadership I'll go down.
That's so good, mate. And you mentioned something earlier in the chat about your life and the things that kind of happened that were challenging for you, and then you wanted to, if you were to walk away from the game or your time in the game is done, that you wanted to ensure that you were enjoying your footy and making sure you're making the most of this part of your life and your career. We quite often ask people that we work with in our programs and when we speak, live the way you want to be remembered. So it's a difficult question on the spot, but if I was to ask you, how would you like to be remembered as a person? Regardless of that being a footy player or a brother or a son, what's the qualities that you would like to be remembered for?
Probably a bloke you can trust on, who's always honest, but brings a level of enthusiasm, excitement. So I think those three, and I think if you do all that stuff, then at the end of it, the one word that comes to mind, if you culminate all those three together, would be you're respected. So I think that's what you're in life, what you want. You want to be respected by your peers. You want to be respected by your family. And I reckon if you can do that, then you've done a lot right.
Mate, I 100% agree. And to me, for you personally, mate, I think that you've hit the nail on the head. And one of the things I know about you, mate, is you are an honest guy on and off the field, and that's how you gain such amazing respect, not even from your teammates, but the community and all the amazing people that get to see you put on the blue and gold every single weekend to play the game of football that we all love. So appreciate that, mate. My last two questions for you, buddy. Number one is, What's the best bit of advice that you've ever been given? And then my second question to you would be, for all the people in the world and Australia right now, they're going through some difficult times in their life, what would be your best bit of advice for them right now? So the first question, what's the best bit of advice that you've been given as a young man, as a person?
I think it's a short one. I think the best bit would be just do the simple things well. I think people can carry that into all facets of life. And the second one would be give the advice to people in lockdown at the moment. I think gratitude goes a long way to happiness. So I think people, if they can, I think once the world moves from where it is now, then we get back to normality. We've talked that a few times. I think by being gracious, being showing signs of humility, and I guess being happy with enjoying whatever it is you're doing, will lead you on the right path. I think it's a lot of If I would say anything, it'd be those three, 3 or 4.
And I think I agree with you on humility. I think humility is such a underrated quality. Like, I think it's such a beautiful thing when you meet someone who's amazing or talented or just an incredible human, but they have such a sense of humility. It's pretty powerful. Amazing, mates. And for all the football fanatics that will be watching this and the Eagles supporters around Australia and WA, what does the year hold for the Eagles? And where do you see yourself finishing on the AFL table this year?
Oh, geez. Talking about humility. Well, first of all, hopefully the season can get underway. I think we've got a pretty strong list. So I'd be lying to say if we should be playing, hopefully, if we play to our optimum, we should be playing finals this year. And then who knows? I think the boys have done it before. And everyone's hungry, so there's no reason why we can't do it again. But to be able to do it, we've got to make sure that, do the simple things well.
Do you feel like you've got a bit of unfinished business? And what I mean by that, obviously missing out in the grand final, do you personally have this, like, I've got to get a premiership medal with my teammates in some time in your footy career, hopefully this year?
Absolutely. I think it's not only myself. Nick Nat missed out in premiership. Andrew Gaff did, myself. We've got Tim Kelly addition to the side. And we've probably got 4 or 5, probably and more, 6 players that didn't taste premiership success, and they're young players coming through. So there's probably only a handful of actual premiership players on the list at the moment, and in our starting 22. So it's I know that there's a lot of competitiveness to spots, and a lot of boys are hungry to taste that success, because it's something sitting in the stands and seeing how the game played and seeing the guys on stage, it definitely does inspire me and motivate me to one day get that feeling.
Mate, amazing, mate. Buddy, all the best with 2020, mate. We're cheering you on from the sidelines. For me personally, thank you so much for being part of Happiness Aid and spreading some happiness and joy in these challenging times in people's lives.
Beautiful, Jules. Thanks for having me, mate.
Cheers, mate.